Lieutenant Commander Richard Shaw stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, looking at the message on his screen. His orders were clear. A human research vessel had sent a distress signal from the edge of known space. They had been studying a new alien race called the Vraxians. Now the research ship was silent. "Set course for the Epsilon sector," Shaw said to his pilot. The U.S. Defiant was the newest warship in the United Earth Navy. It had weapons that could destroy small moons and shields that could stop almost anything. The ship looked sleek and dangerous, like a shark made of black metal. Shaw called his senior officers to the meeting room. Weapons Officer Allison Wright came first. She was tall with short blonde hair and had the best aim in the fleet. Next was Chief Engineer Gregory Hayes, a man with strong hands and a mind that could solve any problem. Medical Officer Diana Wells followed, carrying her tablet with medical data. Last was Intelligence Officer Keith Morgan, who knew more about alien cultures than anyone else on the ship. "We have a missing research vessel," Shaw told them, showing the last known location on the star map. They were watching the Vraxians, who don't like other species very much. "Our job is to find out what happened and bring our people home if possible." The officers nodded. They had trained for this. "The Vraxians have ships that can turn invisible," Morgan said, "but they can't hide their engine heat. We should watch for that." 3 days later, the U.S. Defiant reached the research vessel's last known position. What they found made everyone on the bridge go quiet. The research ship was there, but it was broken into pieces. Bodies floated in space among the wreckage. "Scan for survivors," Shaw ordered, his voice tight. "No life signs," Wells reported. They'd been dead for at least 2 days. Wright looked at her screens and suddenly stood straighter. "Commander, I'm detecting heat signatures consistent with Vraxian ships. 3 of them, hiding behind that moon." Shaw didn't hesitate. "Battle stations. Shields up." The crew rushed to their positions as red lights flashed throughout the ship. The U.S. Defiant's engines hummed louder as power flowed to the weapons systems. "They're moving," Wright said. "They're trying to surround us." Shaw smiled slightly. "They think we're an easy target. Let's show them how humans fight." The Vraxian ships appeared suddenly, dropping their invisibility shields. They were shaped like sharp blades, painted blood red. They fired strange purple beams at the Defiant. "Shields holding at 92%, Hayes reported from engineering. "Return fire," Shaw ordered. "Target their engines." Wright pressed her targeting buttons, and the Defiant's main guns fired brilliant blue beams. The first Vraxian ship exploded instantly, not expecting such powerful weapons. The second ship tried to turn away but took a hit to its side and began spinning out of control. The third Vraxian captain was smarter. His ship turned and ran, jumping to faster than light speed before the Defiant could target it. "Should we chase it?" asked the pilot. Shaw shook his head. "No, we need to report this to Earth Command. The Vraxians just declared war on humanity." Later, in his private quarters, Shaw recorded his report. The research vessel Delta Explorer was destroyed by Vraxian forces. All crew lost. We engaged 3 enemy vessels, destroying 1, disabling another, and the 3rd escaped. The Vraxians clearly underestimated our capabilities. He paused, looking at the stars through his window. "This is only the beginning. The Vraxians will tell others about us now. They'll say we're dangerous, and they're right." Shaw sent the message to Earth Command and prepared for what would come next. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the loudest way possible. Through the guns of a warship, there was no going back now. The news of the battle spread fast. 1 week after the U.S. Defiant destroyed the Vraxian ships, Shaw sat in a large meeting room on the Galactic Confederation space station. The room was filled with aliens of different shapes and sizes. Some had too many eyes. Others had skin that changed colors. All of them were staring at the humans. Admiral Patricia Ellis had arrived from Earth Command yesterday. She wore her dress uniform with all her medals. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her face showed no fear. The humans used excessive force, said a tall, thin alien with blue skin. Your warship destroyed a Vraxian scout vessel with one shot. This is not the action of a peaceful species. Admiral Ellis stood up. We have video proof that the Vraxians destroyed our research ship first. They killed 27 unarmed scientists. We only defended ourselves. The aliens whispered to each other. A Vraxian representative stepped forward. Vraxians looked almost like humans, except for their red eyes and the ridges on their foreheads. The human ship was spying on us, the Vraxian said. We protect our borders. Shaw leaned over to Intelligence Officer Morgan. They're lying, he whispered. Morgan nodded. I've been studying the Confederation records. The Vraxians have been attacking and killing other new species for years. They call it removing evolutionary competitors. But they always make it look like self-defense. Admiral Ellis spoke again. We came here in good faith. We wish to join your confederation as peaceful members. But we will defend our people. The head of the confederation, a round alien with 6 arms, raised his voice. The confederation requires peace. Humanity must remove all warships from this sector. The U.S. Defiant is too dangerous. Ellis shook her head. We cannot do that. The Defiant is protecting human colonies and ships in this area. The meeting ended with no agreement. As the humans walked back to their ship, Morgan showed Admiral Ellis and Shaw some files on his tablet. Look at these records, Morgan said. 7 different new species have been discovered near Vraxian space in the last 50 years. All of them mysteriously died out or disappeared after unfortunate incidents with the Vraxians. Ellis frowned. They've been eliminating competition, and the Confederation has been looking the other way. Back on the U.S. Defiant, the senior officers gathered in the meeting room. Engineer Hayes had news. The Vraxians are building up ships near our colony on New Hope, he said, showing sensor readings. They're planning something. Officer Wright studied the data. Their shields have a weakness. They can't block our new particle weapons properly. If they attack, we can hit them there. Admiral Ellis made her decision. Send a message to Earth Command. Request 3 more warships. We're forming Battle Group Echo. Later that day, a Confederation messenger arrived with an official notice. Shaw read it out loud to his crew. Humanity must surrender all warships with heavy weapons to Confederation control within 7 days. Refusal will result in sanctions and possible military action by Confederation peacekeeping forces. Ellis threw the notice on the table. They want us defenseless. That's not going to happen. Shaw looked at his crew. Prepare the ship for possible combat. The Vraxians won't stop with just threats. On the bridge, Communications Officer Laura Reese received a coded message from Earth. She handed it to Admiral Ellis, who read it and smiled. Earth Command refuses the ultimatum. Ellis told the crew, 3 warships are on their way to join us. Humanity will not bow to threats. The crew cheered, but Shaw stayed quiet. He knew what was coming. War was brewing, and the U.S. Defiant would soon be in the middle of it. The Vraxians had picked a fight with the wrong species. They thought humans would be easy to bully or destroy like the others. They were about to learn otherwise. 3 Earth warships arrived at the rendezvous point near the gas giant. Shaw watched from the bridge of the U.S. Defiant as they appeared one by one, flashing into normal space in bright bursts of light. The U.S. Valiant, the U.S. Dauntless, and the U.S. Relentless formed a perfect triangle formation. Together with the Defiant, they made up Battle Group Echo, the first human battle fleet in this sector of space. Admiral Ellis spoke with the other ship captains through the video link. The Vraxians are moving their fleet toward our colony on New Hope. We have 48 hours to prepare. Captain Nickel Rogers of the U.S. Valiant asked, "What about the Confederation? Are they still demanding we surrender our ships?" "Yes," Ellis said, "and they've declared us rogue elements to be neutralized. The Vraxians have convinced most of them that we're the aggressors." Shaw turned to Officer Wright, who was studying Vraxian ship designs. Any progress on their weaknesses? Wright nodded. Their shield frequency operates in a narrow band. If we adjust our weapons to fire at exactly 42.7 terahertz, we can cut through their defenses like they weren't even there. Good work, Shaw said. Share that with the rest of the fleet. In engineering, Chief Hayes worked with his team to modify the Defiant's engines. He wiped sweat from his forehead as he connected the last power coupling. This will give us an extra 15% thrust, he told Shaw during his inspection. We'll be faster than anything the Vraxians have. They won't expect that from us. Intelligence Officer Morgan called an emergency meeting that evening. His face was pale as he showed the officers what he had discovered. The Vraxians aren't just coming to attack our colony, Morgan said. They're planning to use the Confederation peacekeeping mission as cover. Look at these ship movements. The display showed dozens of Vraxian ships mixing with Confederation vessels. They've convinced the Confederation to help them contain the human threat, Morgan continued. But these 6 Vraxian heavy cruisers are carrying planet killer bombs. They want to wipe out New Hope completely and blame it on a reactor accident. The room went silent. Admiral Ellis was the first to speak. We need to stop them. But if we fire on Confederation ships, we'll be starting a galactic war. We need proof, Shaw said. Something we can show the Confederation about the Vraxians' real plan. Dr. Wells spoke up. I've been analyzing the remains we recovered from the destroyed research ship. The scientists were tortured before they died. The Vraxians were looking for information about Earth's defenses. Communications Officer Reese rushed into the room. Admiral, we just intercepted a transmission. A joint Confederation Vraxian fleet is assembling. Over 60 ships. They're coming for us. Admiral Ellis stood up. Her face showed no fear, only determination. Then we'll be ready for them. Battle Group Echo will take position at Proxima Ridge. The stellar dust will give us some cover and limit their approach vectors. Shaw studied the star chart. Proxima Ridge was a dangerous place, full of radiation and unpredictable magnetic fields. But it would force the enemy fleet to come at them through narrow passages. Later, as the 4 human warships moved into position among the swirling cosmic dust of Proxima Ridge, Shaw looked out at the stars. Soon those stars would be filled with enemy ships, outnumbering them at least 8-1. Send a message to all ships, Admiral Ellis commanded. Prepare for battle. Remember what we're fighting for. If the Vraxians win here, Earth will be next. Shaw checked his ship's systems one last time. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, preparing weapons, checking shields, and running final diagnostics. Everyone knew the stakes. They were outnumbered and far from home, but they had something the enemy didn't understand: humanity's refusal to give up, no matter the odds. The space around Proxima Ridge was quiet. Too quiet. The 4 human warships floated silently among the dust clouds and asteroids. From the outside, they looked almost powered down. Only the faintest lights showed they were still active. On the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Shaw watched the long-range scanners. The enemy fleet was coming. 64 ships against their 4. All ships maintain radio silence, Admiral Ellis ordered. Power systems at minimum until my signal. The plan was risky. The human ships would appear damaged or disabled, drawing the enemy in close. Then, when the aliens were in the perfect position, Battle Group Echo would power up suddenly and attack. Officer Wright checked her weapons console one more time. Weapons ready. Target frequencies set to penetrate Vraxian shields. Hours passed slowly. The crew was tense but focused. Then the scanners picked up the first enemy ships entering the edge of Proxima Ridge. Here they come, Shaw said quietly. General Zex Toll of the Vraxian fleet stood on his command ship, looking at the tactical display. The human ships were just ahead, seemingly dead in space. These humans are even weaker than we thought, he told his officers. Their ships are crippled by the radiation in this region. He smiled, showing sharp teeth. Prepare boarding parties. I want their technology intact. The Confederation commander, a tall alien named Krell, was more cautious. The readings are strange. Their ships should be more damaged in this radiation field. Zek's tool laughed. You worry too much. They are primitive creatures. Our informants say they have been using space travel for barely 200 years. We have been masters of the stars for thousands. The combined alien fleet moved deeper into Proxima Ridge, spreading out to surround the human ships. They moved slowly, confident in their superior numbers. On the Defiant, Admiral Ellis watched the enemy formation carefully. Not yet, she whispered, even though only the bridge crew could hear her. Wait for it. The enemy ships moved closer. 8 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 4 kilometers. Now, Ellis commanded. Shaw pressed the alert button. Throughout all 4 human ships, power systems surged to life. Engines glowed bright blue. Weapon systems charged instantly. General Zexatul stared in shock as the human ships suddenly came to life. It's a trap. Battle formation. Raise shields. But it was too late. The human warships were already moving, much faster than any Vraxian ship could. The U.S. Valiant and U.S. Relentless shot forward, directly into the center of the enemy formation. The U.S. Dauntless and U.S. Defiant moved upward, attacking from above. Wright fired the Defiant's main guns. Blue energy beams cut through the space, hitting a Vraxian cruiser exactly at its shield frequency. The enemy ship's shields failed instantly, and the beam continued through, cutting the cruiser in half. Target next vessel, Shaw ordered calmly. All around them, the battle raged. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, as if they were dancing through space. They targeted the Vraxian ships first, ignoring the Confederation vessels when possible. On the enemy command ship, General Zexatul screamed in rage. How are they doing this? Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields. 3 more Vraxian ships exploded as the U.S. Valiant hit their engine cores with precision shots. The Confederation commander Krell was watching in awe. Their battle tactics. I've never seen anything like this. They fight like they have one mind controlling all 4 ships. For 30 minutes, the battle continued. The human ships took hits, but their shields held. They'd moved through the enemy fleet like sharks through a school of fish, striking and moving on before the aliens could respond. Finally, General Zexatul gave the order to retreat. Fall back. All ships, fall back. Half of the Vraxian fleet was destroyed or disabled. The Confederation ships retreated with them, confused by the unexpected defeat. On the Defiance bridge, the crew cheered as the enemy fled. But Shaw didn't join in. He knew this was just the beginning. 2 days after the battle at Proxima Ridge, the U.S. Defiant received a message from the Confederation. They wanted to talk. Admiral Ellis agreed to meet on neutral ground, a small space station at the edge of the sector. Shaw walked beside the Admiral as they entered the meeting room. 3 Confederation representatives waited for them, but no Vraxians. The battle has changed things, said the lead representative, a green-skinned alien named Dorvin. Many in the Confederation are questioning the Vraxian claims about humanity. Ellis nodded. We only defended ourselves. We want peaceful relations with all species. While they talked, back on the Defiant, Dr. Wells was treating alien prisoners from a captured Vraxian ship. She checked the vital signs of an injured officer. Your arm will heal completely, she told him through a translator. We have medicine for your pain. The Vraxian looked confused. Why help me? I am your enemy. Humans help the injured, even enemies, Wells explained. It's our way. In another part of the ship, Intelligence Officer Morgan was questioning a different prisoner, a Vraxian commander. We know about your plans for the human colony, Morgan said. Why does your government want to destroy us? The commander stayed silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You are dangerous. You advance too quickly. In 200 years, you went from primitive flying machines to warships that can defeat our best vessels. In 1,000 years, you would rule the galaxy. Morgan leaned forward. Is that why the Vraxians have destroyed other new species? Fear of competition. The commander's eyes widened. How do you know about that? Meanwhile, Engineer Hayes and civilian specialist Susan Kennedy were studying captured Vraxian technology in the engine room. Their engines are actually less efficient than ours, Kennedy said, looking at the alien power core. But their weapons use an energy type we've never seen before. Hayes nodded. We can learn from this, improve our own ships. Back at the neutral station, the diplomatic talks were making progress. The Confederation was starting to split into two groups, those who feared humanity's potential and those who saw humans as possible allies. The Vraxians have controlled Confederation politics for too long, said Dorvan. Some of us have suspected their influence, but we had no proof. Just then, Officer Wright rushed into the room. Admiral, urgent news from our intelligence team. We've discovered evidence of a Vraxian superweapon being prepared. It's aimed at Earth. Ellis showed the evidence to the Confederation representatives. Images of a massive space station being built in secret Vraxian territory. Documents describing a weapon that could destroy an entire planet from across the galaxy. This is why the Vraxians wanted us disarmed, Ellis explained. They planned to use this weapon against Earth while our fleet was away. The Confederation aliens looked at each other in shock. Dorvan spoke first. If they would do this to your species, they might do it to any of us who oppose them. By the time they returned to the Defiant, a tentative alliance was forming. 5 Confederation species had agreed to join with humanity against the Vraxian threat. Shaw met with his senior officers to plan their next move. We need more intelligence on this superweapon. We have to know exactly what it does and how to stop it. I'll lead a mission, Wright volunteered. A small team can infiltrate their space and gather data. Ellis considered the plan. It's extremely dangerous, but we need that information. Later that night, Shaw looked out at the stars from his quarters. Things were moving quickly now. What had started as a simple rescue mission had turned into a potential galactic war, and humanity was at the center of it all. We never wanted this fight, he told himself, but we will finish it. The U.S. Defiant's engines powered up as they prepared to embark on their most dangerous mission yet, a direct infiltration of Vraxian space to learn more about the weapon that threatened their world. The U.S. Defiant moved silently through Vraxian space. They had turned off all non-essential systems to avoid detection. 2 ships from the new Confederation allies traveled with them, a Dorvan scout vessel and a Makari stealth ship. Shaw stood on the bridge, watching the main screen. The massive Vraxian weapon facility was visible now, a huge space station orbiting a dead moon. It looked like a metal spider with many legs reaching out into space. We're still undetected, Wright reported. The Dorvan cloaking technology is working perfectly. Admiral Ellis nodded. Begin the operation. Wright, you'll lead the intelligence team. Get in, gather the data, and get out. No heroics. Officer Wright led a team of 6 people to the shuttle bay. They wore special suits designed for stealth operations. The Makari ship would drop them near the facility, where they would use small personal thrusters to reach an access point. As the team prepared to leave, Shaw spoke to Wright. Be careful. We need that information. But we need you back safely too. Wright smiled. Don't worry, Commander. We'll be back before dinner. The mission began smoothly. The team reached the Vraxian facility without being detected. Using tools provided by their new allies, they bypassed the security systems and entered the station. We're in, Wright whispered over the secure comlink. Moving to the central data core. On the Defiant, Shaw and Ellis watched the team's progress through their helmet cameras. The Vraxian facility was huge, with long corridors and large rooms filled with strange equipment. What is that? Ellis asked, pointing to a large glass container filled with swirling blue liquid. Morgan, who was analyzing the video feed, looked concerned. That appears to be biological material. They might be creating some kind of bioweapon. Inside the facility, Wright's team reached the main computer room. Their tech specialist, Alan Perry, connected a device to the Vraxian system and began downloading data. "This is strange," Perry said. "They're running genetic analysis programs. Lots of them. All focused on human DNA." Wright looked over his shoulder. "They're targeting us specifically. Get everything you can." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. A Vraxian voice echoed over speakers. "We've been detected," Wright shouted. "Perry, do you have enough data?" "Almost. Just a few more seconds." Wright and her team prepared their weapons. "Defiant, we've been compromised." Preparing to extract. On the bridge of the Defiant, Shaw immediately ordered battle stations, all powered to engines and weapons. "We'll need to cover their escape." The Vraxian facility was coming alive now. Security doors closed and armed guards rushed through the corridors. "Got it," Perry announced, disconnecting from the system. "I have the data." Wright's team fought their way back toward their entry point. 2 team members were hit by Vraxian weapons, but survived thanks to their armor. As they reached the outer hull, more Vraxian ships appeared, heading toward the Defiant. "We can't wait," Wright told her team. "We need to jump now." They blasted open an airlock and launched themselves into space, using their thrusters to push away from the station. Behind them, the facility was fully activated, and weapon systems were powering up. The U.S. Defiant moved to intercept the team, fighting through Vraxian patrol ships. The Dorvan and Macquarie allies provided cover fire, allowing the Defiant to reach Wright's team. Once they were safely back on board, Shaw ordered immediate retreat. "Maximum speed. Get us out of here." The Defiant took heavy damage as they fled. 1 engine was hit, and several decks were exposed to space before emergency shields activated. As they escaped Vraxian space, Communications Officer Reese worked desperately to send the collected data to Earth. The ship's communications array was damaged, but she managed to boost the signal enough. "Transmission complete," she reported, just before the main communications system failed completely. Shaw looked around his damaged bridge. Smoke filled the air, and several stations were destroyed. "Damage report. We've lost engines 2 and 3, Hayes replied from engineering. "Life support is at 60%. Weapons are offline." Shaw nodded grimly. "Set course for the rendezvous point. We need to regroup with the fleet." The Defiant limped away, badly damaged, but with precious intelligence that might save Earth from destruction. The U.S. Defiant floated in deep space, far from any star system. The ship was dark and quiet, running on emergency power only. Inside, the crew worked non-stop to repair the damage from their escape. In engineering, Chief Hayes hadn't slept in 2 days. His hands were dirty and cut from working directly on the engine parts. No one had time to use tools properly. They just did whatever worked. "We need to get Engine 3 back online," Hayes told his team. "Without it, we're stuck here." Commander Shaw walked through the damaged corridors of his ship. Walls were torn open, and cables hung from the ceiling. Crew members nodded to him as he passed. Despite everything, morale was still high. In the medical bay, Dr. Wells treated the wounded from Wright's team. Officer Perry lay on a bed, his face pale from blood loss. "How is he?" Shaw asked. "He'll live," Wells said, "but we're running out of medical supplies." Shaw moved on to the science lab, where Wright and Morgan were analyzing the data they had stolen from the Vraxian facility. "It's worse than we thought," Wright said, pointing to the screen. "The weapon targets specific genetic markers in human DNA. It would kill every human in its range while leaving other species unharmed." Morgan nodded. "And the range is enormous. If they deploy it near Earth, our entire species could be at risk." Shaw looked at the images of the weapon. "Can it be stopped?" "Yes," Wright said. "The biological component is unstable. If we can insert a modified virus into their system, it would make the weapon useless. Or better yet," Morgan added, "it might backfire on them." Shaw thought for a moment. "We're cut off from Earth fleet. Our communications are down. We can't wait for help. He looked at his officers. We need to go back and stop that weapon ourselves. The next day, Shaw called all senior officers to the half-repaired bridge. He explained his plan. The Defiant can't fight anymore, but we don't need to fight. We need stealth. He showed them a map of the Vraxian facility. Hayes has converted our shuttle into a stealth vessel using parts from our Makari allies. A small team will infiltrate the facility and insert Dr. Wells' virus into their weapon system. Hayes spoke up. Engine 3 is almost fixed. We'll have enough power to get close, drop off the team, and pick them up when they're done. Everyone understood the risks. They were deep in enemy territory with a damaged ship. If they failed, Earth would never know the danger until it was too late. The next morning, the Defiant slowly approached the Vraxian facility again. The ship looked even worse than before. Parts of the hull were missing, and one engine glowed an uneven red color. They won't expect us to come back, Shaw told Wright, who would lead the ground team again. Use that surprise. Wright nodded. Her team included Morgan, Dr. Wells, and 2 security officers. They boarded the modified shuttle and launched silently toward the facility. On the bridge, Shaw watched them go. Now we wait. Hours passed with no word from the team. The Defiant stayed hidden behind a small moon, ready to move when called. Then Officer Reese picked up a weak signal. "Commander, it's Morgan. They're in trouble." Morgan's voice came through with heavy static. "We've planted the virus, but Vraxian security is everywhere. Wright is wounded. We can't reach the extraction point." Shaw didn't hesitate. "Full power to all systems. We're going in." The damaged Defiant emerged from behind the moon, engines burning bright despite the damage. Vraxian patrol ships immediately moved to intercept. "Get me close enough to pick up our people," Shaw ordered the pilot. "Ignore everything else." As the Defiant approached the facility, Vraxian guns opened fire. Without shields, each hit caused more damage to the already broken ship. Communications Officer Reese stayed focused on her console. "I've got Morgan's signal. They're moving toward Airlock 7. The Defiant turned, taking more hits as it lined up with the airlock. Through the viewport, Shaw could see small figures in spacesuits pushing toward the ship. "Just a little longer," he whispered. "Hold together, old girl." The U.S. Defiant shook violently as another Vraxian weapon hit its hull. Without shields, each blast tore through metal and systems. Shaw gripped his chair as the ship lurched sideways. "Airlock 7 is open," reported the operations officer. "Ground team is coming aboard now." Shaw nodded. "Get us out of here as soon as they're in." On the security monitors, Shaw watched as Morgan helped a wounded Wright through the airlock. Dr. Wells and the security officers followed, carrying equipment. One person was missing. "Where's Officer Perry?" Shaw asked over the comm. Morgan's voice was heavy with emotion. "He stayed behind to make sure the virus uploaded completely. He didn't make it out." Shaw closed his eyes briefly. Another loss. But Perry's sacrifice might save billions. "All team members aboard except Perry," reported the security chief. "Airlock sealed." "Maximum thrust," Shaw ordered. "Get us away from the facility." The damaged engines of the Defiant pushed the ship forward, away from the Vraxian station. Enemy ships followed, firing constantly. The bridge was filled with smoke now, and warning alarms blared from every station. "Engine 2 is failing," Hayes reported from engineering. "We can't keep this up much longer." Just as Shaw thought they might not make it, space around them lit up with new weapon fire. But these weapons weren't targeting the Defiant. They were hitting the Vraxian ships. "Sir," Reese shouted over the noise. "It's the Earth fleet. They found us." Through the viewport, Shaw saw Earth warships appearing. Dozens of them, led by the massive dreadnought U.S. Resolute. Admiral Ellis had brought the entire fleet. The Vraxian ships turned to meet this new threat, forgetting about the damaged Defiant. It was the opening Shaw needed. "Get us clear of the battle," he ordered. "We've done our part." As the Defiant limped away, the Earth fleet engaged the Vraxian ships. It was an awesome sight. Human warships moving with precision and power, their weapons cutting through enemy vessels. In the Vraxian facility, alarms were sounding as the virus spread through their systems. The superweapon's biological component began to break down, becoming unstable. Scientists rushed to stop the process, but it was too late. The facility exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking with it the threat to humanity and several nearby Vraxian ships. 3 days later, Shaw stood in the meeting room of the U.S. Resolute. His uniform was clean, but his face showed the strain of the past weeks. Admiral Ellis entered, followed by representatives from the Confederation. "The Vraxians have surrendered," Ellis announced. "Their leadership has been exposed to the Confederation as manipulators and aggressors. The war is over." The green-skinned Dorvan stepped forward. "The Confederation offers its deepest apologies to humanity. We were blind to the Vraxian manipulation for too long." Shaw looked out the viewport at the remains of his ship, the U.S. Defiant. It was being towed back to Earth for repairs. Despite all the damage, the name on its hull still shone proudly. "What happens now?" Shaw asked. Admiral Ellis smiled. "Now we build a real peace. The Confederation has invited Earth to become a full member with equal standing." Later, Shaw visited Wright in the medical bay. Her wounds were healing well. "Perry's sacrifice saved us all," Wright said quietly. Shaw nodded. "And so did yours. All of you." 1 month later, the U.S. Defiant returned to Earth orbit. It had been repaired and upgraded, looking more powerful than ever. Shaw stood on the bridge with his crew, Wright, Hayes, Wells, Morgan, and Reese, as they prepared for their next mission. "The galaxy knows about humanity now," Shaw told them. "They respect us not just because we can fight, but because we fight for the right reasons." As the Defiant moved away from Earth, other ships joined it. Not just human ships, but vessels from their new Confederation allies. Together, they formed a fleet that represented a new beginning. "Where to now, Commander?" asked the pilot. Shaw smiled. "There's a whole galaxy out there. And now, we're ready for it." The stars stretched into lines of light as the Defiant jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying humanity's finest into a future where they would never be underestimated again.